I mean, seriously, it's a Star Wars Mandalorian SSD. I mean, shut the front door. What is this? I mean, I know some of the references I say here on the channel may go over some people's heads, but I think we can all agree if you're watching this and you're a gamer and you're into IT, I mean, there's what, 4 of you that don't like Star Wars? I mean, for Christ's sake, look at it. Look at it. Yes, that incredibly enthusiastic intro aside, this is the Seagate Firecuda 530 Star Wars Mandalorian edition. Again, with Beskar Ingot, they're describing there as the material. They're obviously stylized on the Mandalorian series there. It's utilizing the same quality heatsink we've seen in the the current generation of Firecuda 530 SSDs out there. The pricing on this, the 1TB drive, before we go any further, because there are a number of you out there, when you see a kind of branded licensed product, your brain automatically goes to, well, that's going to be expensive. We're looking at the 1TB that we've got here today, and this is available in up to 4 terabytes. The 1TB with no heatsink Firecuda is around 150 quid. The one with the heatsink knocks around for about 170 to 175, and this one with the special edition heatsink knocks around for just shy of £200, so like 199, 198. Now, in this video, we are not going to be doing PC benchmarks for a couple of reasons. One, I've already done PC benchmarks on both the heatsink and the non-heatsink versions of this drive. I will be doing another video focusing on PC utilization of this and doing a lot of focus on the temperature there, both the temperature of the SSD itself on PC benchmarks and utilizing that heat module adapter here, where we're going to look at the temperatures it can raise inside the PS5 just to see if this heatsink keeps things as cool as they claim. But in today's video, what we're looking at is one, how it looks, because that's an incredibly important aspect of a licensed product like that. The design of it, how it looks to the end user, more so than most other SSDs, that's going to be incredibly important in this video. The second thing we're going to look at is PS5 performance. So first half of this video, we're going to look at it and then we're going to switch it straight over to the PS5. That's right, my PS5 that we always use. We're going to be installing that drive inside, and then from there we're going to be running similar tests that we've done before with Demon Souls. We're going to be looking at that with the Matrix Unreal 5 tech demo, Far Cry 6. But for now, let's look at this bloody SSD, shall we? So the retail box, again, nice and subtle. I hate seagulls. This SSD arrived in like black packaging there. It's very markedly different to that of the packaging of the normal Firecuda 530. Just to put that into perspective, here is how they both look. I know we got slight discoloration because of the light there, but that's how they both look side by side. So if we move that out of there, and we open this up, I've got to say, I've already opened this to take some of the pictures that we posted earlier on Facebook and stuff, and I've got to say, the presentation on this is markedly different, actually. Just to put it into perspective, the normal Firecuda drive has this plastic shell. It's got the Firecuda SSD in the middle there with the heatsink on board. At the back there, you've got stickers, information on the data recovery services, rescue, and first time installation information, and that warranty. So that's 5 years of the manufacturer's warranty and 3 years for the data recovery services. Now, this drive pretty much has all of that, but it doubles down on a lot of things. So just to take that into perspective, when you open it up, the first thing that greets you is, of course, the Mandalorian. So again, you've got that there, and apparently these are serial tracked, a very unique market there. So again, those of you that are really into that kind of thing, that's going to blow you away, a lot of the uniqueness of the presentation of this package. So you've got Mandalorian cover there, then you've got the SSD held in this nice soft foam area there. If we bring that up, it's holding it nice and tight there on screen. So if we remove that from the packaging, move that from the back, and we'll come back to that SSD in just a moment. If we remove the foam inside there, we have got, firstly, a whole world of stickers. Now again, I know I'm not the target market really for these stickers, but I've already seen at a number of trade shows these sort of things adorning the back of laptops and stuff, so I know there's a market out there. It may not be for me, but again, there's some very Star Wars and Mandalorian specific ones there, which again, it's not for me, but I know there's people out there that buy these kind of display pieces and they're going to enjoy that kind of thing. Inside as well, I really hate seagulls today. We've got the envelope, of course, and inside there we find, firstly, our Seagate Firecuda Special Edition information on setup, first time installation in different languages. Then we have got the warranty information as mentioned. and then we've got the information on that rescue recovery service. Once again, for those that aren't aware, when you do buy a Firecuda product, like a lot of Seagate's products, it has data recovery services, forensic level data recovery services included. We've already covered it in a bunch of videos. I'm not going to put that on screen again, but again, I can't rate it enough as an additional extra on an SSD that's priced very similarly to a number of other SSDs out there, but with a higher durability and specifications that we're going to talk about later on. I will always rate the inclusion of that service. But let's remove all of these, because let's face it, you didn't come here for papers, you didn't come here for stickers, you came here for a drive. So as you can see there, emblazoned with the logo there at the front. And again, the whole thing has got a really nice finish all the way along the top there. And there's going to be a lot more photos over on NAS Compares below, linked on the blog, where we've got a lot of the imagery and we're going to do some real close-up stuff there. But we've got that logo there, right there at the top, bringing that forward there. And again, this is a first-party heatsink there. So the controller and the NAND and the memory, all of the gubbins that we care the most about, has been applied in the perfect possible way there. And again, the M2, it's a PCIe Gen 4x4 SSD. That heatsink goes all the way around. There's even a little bit of ventilation there on the base of the heatsink too. But again, it's got that nice kind of feeling. It's definitely kind of layered in. There's not just a simple cache grab there in terms of the design. It's very, very similar to the normal SSD. So if we bring out the heatsink version that's the non-Star Wars one, so we can see how they compare. This is how they both compare. We have those side by side. So again, it's the same quality heatsink, same height there. But again, it's very markedly, specifically tailored to that Star Wars look there. So that's kind of how it looks. We're not going to be taking it apart in this video. During the hardware review and PC benchmarking, I will be taking it apart and getting it out of that heatsink there just to show you what the SSD is like inside. But if you do want to know, I've already made a video where we've dismantled the 530. You can have a look inside there. But let's talk a little bit about the specifications while I install this SSD inside the PS5. Now, this is not the first SSD to utilize a controller in board known as the Phison E18. Easily one of the most popular PCIe Gen 4x4 SSD controllers in the market. It's had a few revisions since the original 530 was released back in summer 2021. And this SSD, straight away, one of the things it stood out for more than any other SSD at the time is it's pretty much the only PCIe Gen 4x4 M.2 NVMe in the market that has a durability of 0.7 drive writes per day. That means for every terabyte, you can freshly write up to 700 gigabytes of data onto that SSD and still be well within its durability and well within its lifespan as well, with most other SSDs arriving on the market at 0.3 to 0.38 drive writes per day there. You can measure these things in TBW or terabytes written, but still nonetheless, just that figure, knowing just how much you can write to this thing within its life cycle, is going to be really useful. I know a lot of console gamers aren't going to be as behind that because a number of them, you know, they're thinking more about the read activity, but you're going to be doing write from time to time. And again, even if you don't hit it that hard, that durability is an incredible stamp of approval from the brand there on board. Now, on top of that, the NAND that's being utilized inside, it is one of a small contingent, at least last year, although the numbers have got a little bigger now, of 176 layer 3D TLC NAND. And again, that's the Micron NAND being utilized in there. There's also DDR4 memory there for the SD RAM, which scales according to the device you're going to be utilizing. So if you're using the 1 TB, it's 1 gig of DDR4, 2 gig, 2 TB, etc., etc. And the SSD itself goes in there like an absolute dream. You can see it inside there. Hopefully I'm not blocking the mic too much. Again, no raised area there. It sits inside. It fits absolutely fine there on screen. So let's open it up inside there. The reported performance, and we're going to put the cover on just to make sure it actually goes on. The reported performance of this SSD is well in excess, I believe, of 7,300 in ideal utilization. Again, to get those sort of benchmarks, you are going to have to be running something like an 8 or 12 core Xeon. I run a 6 core Intel i5 11th gen, so I'll be happy if I can cross into the 7,000 megs when I utilize it on my test bench when we do our PC benchmark. But in terms of the PS5 performance, I'm going to be really interested to see what the PS5 benchmark is for this, because as it's a 1TB, I will be surprised, I'll be joyous if it hits the 6,500 megabytes per second on its initial benchmark. And we're going to do several benchmarks of the SSD, one after the other, to make sure we get a decent enough reading there. But again, when it comes to when we've tested the 530 in the past, it's been a consistent leader in terms of its performance. Yes, it's more expensive than a number of SSDs out there, and a specialized edition Mandalorian one like this one is still going to cost you that little bit more. But you are getting a highly durable drive, and you've got a proven SSD that's done very, very well in the past. Now, again, when we have tested it before, coming soon is another 4-way face-off for PS5 SSDs, and without spoiling it too much, this not this drive, but the non-Mandalorian drive has got joint first with another one without me spoiling it. So again, it consistently leads the pack in terms of SSDs for gaming upgrades for console systems like this. But I think that's enough yabbering. We've talked about the specifications of this SSD in many, many, many videos prior to this. And I think if you come to this video and you saw the PlayStation on there, you've seen the drive, what you're really interested in is the performance of this SSD with a multitude of different games. One last thing just before we do that though, I think it would be remiss not to highlight one kind of glaring ironic thing about all of this. A number of you that buy the Mandalorian SSD, I think it would be remiss not to at least acknowledge that once you've got this SSD and you go, oh, isn't it so wonderfully pretty, and you put it inside this system, you're probably never going to look at it again. So a lot of you out there that are kind of a bit tight on the budget, you may love Star Wars, but to be perfectly honest with you, if what you care about is the performance of the SSD, I would maybe err towards their own heatsink model, because you are going to be using an SSD that is hidden inside this system the whole time. Me personally, I've chuffed to bits I've got this, and it is going to live inside my PlayStation. So me personally, I can see why a person would go for this, and to be perfectly frank, whenever you've watched any of the videos that I've done or doing a lot of our bench testing in my home office, you will see a myriad of rather, let's just say, less than cool items knocking around, like my Lego Batmobile, like my Sonic the Hedgehog Master System game. But that is besides the point. Let's get this system up and running and run some of the tests on those games to see just how the Mandalorian Special Edition Firecuda 530 fares in our tests. Okay, so we've made our way onto the PlayStation here. We've got the SSD installed, so let's format this SSD and get our first benchmark. We're going to do 3 individual benchmarks. Generally, they will provide different benchmark scores, but straight away 6,214. So let's go ahead and get straight back into the main menu for the PlayStation, and from there we are going to reformat that drive. 3 individual tests just to have a see what the average is here. Now, as we're doing these formats quite close together, generally that can mean we will get slightly depreciating results each time we do it. There is our Seagate Firecuda. We've got loads of kind of updates and stuff at the top of the screen that we're largely going to ignore. But what we're going to do now is restart and reformat the SSD, and then this will allow us to re-benchmark. As I say, we can do this 2 more times. I could cut, but I think it would be better if I don't cut through, because then you guys can at least see that there's no change here, and these are 3 consecutive benchmarks back to back on this SSD. Another thing I will highlight while I'm doing this is each time we're doing this, we're not doing anything too active with the format of a drive, but it can slightly saturate the cache. And I know slightly saturate is kind of impossible as a term, but it does lead to the SSD getting hit quite heavily, so it can affect the results. But let's go straight in and format our new SSD. So this is our second format. The first one was 6,200. So let's have a look at our new benchmark, 6,200 again, so a lovely consistent there. I even think that was a pinch higher by maybe 20 or 30 megabytes per second there. So we'll do one more format, and then after that we're going to do a nice heavy write activity, transferring some games directly over to the SSD there. So again, let's make our way back in. Know that there's going to be all manner of notifications once again going through there. Let's go ahead, reformat. And we're reformatting it now. This is the 3rd and last time of doing it before we move some games over and start bench testing some games on this system. But yeah, I mean, if this is even, the same bar as any other Firecuda, because this is the same SSD, but with a modified heatsink compared to the other ones, and even then it's the same material as the other previous Firecuda 530 heatsink. So this is really the same SSD, but with some design stuff going on there. And also I will add the latest firmware on the box, it did detail about the release date of this and where the date of manufacture. And right now, this SSD arrives with the latest Seagate Firecuda firmware on board. So here we are, we're getting ready for our third test here. Let's carry on. And this is our third one. Are we going to have 6,200 again? Have we oversaturated? Are we going to get better? No, still in the 6,200. Which for a 1 TB, I am definitely happy with there. It's also worth highlighting the PlayStation has kind of changed its internal benchmark. It's been sort of noted online that the benchmark has changed ever so slightly, and it has been reflective of a lot of SSDs that originally maybe gave out 5,600 are now starting to show lower numbers. But let's go ahead and migrate some of these games over. And this is going to be our nice heavy write activity there. Again, we're not doing the PC benchmark. We're not doing any of the heftier stuff there. We're going to move those games there. We've got 255. Do you know what? Let's move over Battlefield just for the heck of it. It's not going to be part of our testing, but let's move over Battlefield anyway, just because then we've got that big old chunk of data. So let's move over 300 gig of data there over to the system and just have a little look there. Now, I've mentioned this in other videos, and if you've been following this channel for a while, you'll be well aware that what you're watching here, the movement of the data from the internal PS5 SSD and onto the Seagate expanded storage SSD, this really is it's not possible to measure this because there's bottlenecks happening between the PlayStation's own SSD and that of the SSD we're writing on. That bottleneck is not to do with read, it's not to do with write. There is some kind of either compression or encryption or certification, packaging, unpacking, who knows. But something's happening between the internal PS5 SSD and the SSD that we upgrade with. And the result is that regardless of the SSDs I've tested, and I have tested QLC SSDs, I have tested mid-range Phison E16 SSDs, SSDs that have got a reported maximum benchmark of 5,500 megs, this always seems to take about the same amount of time with the same amount of data. There's no real difference there. So what we're going to do now is fast forward to the completion of this heavy write action, and then from there I'm going to make my way into our first games for testing, and then we're going to see how this performs in the loading of those games versus that of a Seagate SSD with the Ella10 inside. Let's fast forward. Okay, so we're back onto the title screen there. The games have moved over. We can have a quick look there. We can see there are the games on the SSD, and we can make our way back into the overall storage there. Go into the storage manager, and you can see the games have been moved over to that Seagate Firecuda Special Edition drive there. You can see the SE in the title there at the top. So, first game we're going to be testing is Far Cry 6. It is worth highlighting straight away off the bat that with these games, very few of them I'm going to be measuring from the title screen. I'm certainly not going to be measuring the loading time from the PlayStation's own screen here because there's lots of developer logos and lots of stuff that gets in the way. We're only looking at loading into in-game assets in pretty much every different test. So the first test we're going to go for now is loading into the world here. So we're going to load in 3, 2, 1, go. Going to be measuring it now. Hopefully you can see that on screen versus that of the M.2 SSD there at the top left with the generic heatsink, and boom, we are in the world. So the first thing we want to do is grab ourselves a vehicle and just kind of push the game a little bit there, just make sure, because I know this game loads in some of the further away assets gradually over time, but again, everything's looking sharp and great as far as I'm concerned there. Again, we can select the autopilot so we can start looking around. And again, short of a difference there in terms of time of day, from what I'm seeing here, things seem to be running absolutely fine. It doesn't help that the game is trying to follow a checkpoint there that's less than helpful, but still running absolutely fine there. Seeing that running through, the textures are fine, the distance is fine. We see no drop in frame rate. That is exactly what I want to see from this SSD during these tests. So again, we'll keep moving forward. And then what I'm going to do in a moment as we keep moving forward is instigate another fast travel. And when we instigate that fast travel, we're going to see how long it takes the game to kind of load those assets back in. Because unsurprisingly, while we do this, the game is, of course, getting rid of a lot of assets there in the background. But we can keep moving forward, move through there and keep going. But for now, that's fine for me. I think we can load straight into the next test. And again, we're going to go back to that checkpoint and load in 3, 2, 1, go. Comparing it there. left and right of the screen. Should be absolutely fine. A lovely fast entrance point in there, hopefully. So we'll get into the world once again. We'll load ourselves in a vehicle. And again, we're just going to push things a little. Wait for this guy to jump out, even though it takes about 10 years in this game for that to happen. And then from there, we're just going to once again push ourselves nice and far into the assets there, just to make sure that the game's not going to have any difficulties as we go. The game after this, the next test, is going to be utilising that Unreal Engine 5 tech demo. So again, as we make our way through here, didn't mean to do that. No one hate me for that incident. But yeah, this game's seemingly running exactly how I'd like to see it. Everything's running fine. The effects are where I'd like to see them. Have a look round. The assets are still nice and sharp. The up-close asset swapping out. And for now, I'd say that's pretty much a success. So let's come out of that and make our way into the next game. The next game being the Matrix Awakens Unreal 5 Tech Engine demo. Nice and simple once again. Much like our previous test, this is going to be running two different scenarios, heavy driving and heavy flight. So we're going to make our way in immediately. So loading into the sandbox environment of this game. Sore throat today, sorry about that. Going past all these, once again, this is exactly why we're not measuring this game utilising loading in from the PlayStation's main menu, because it just takes too damn long. But let's go for it in 3, 2, 1, go. Should load in lovely and sharp there. We've tested the Seagate Firecuda 530 on this game before, and it's run absolutely fine. And of course, this is the same SSD with the latest firmware revision, and of course that Mandalorian Ingot Heatsink. So let's go for it there. Let's run as quick as we can and grab ourselves a vehicle. And again, we're not going to do too much in this. All we're doing right now is making sure that the game is running the way we want to see it run. And I think for now, things are running as well as we'd like to see them. It's the right pacing. Again, no drop in frame rate, but again, this is still a tech demo, so it's not impossible to get that. Could hit brakes, not gonna. But yes, so for me, that is seemingly running quite well. I think that, for me, we've loaded into the game. The assets are in the game. We're doing absolutely fine there. So for now, what we can do is let's exit back to the title screen. So let's let that happen. Jump out there. Again, don't worry about that drop in frame rate. That's fairly normal for this Unreal Tech Engine demo. As you can see there, the game is not doing well right now. But let's go ahead back into the menu. So we'll carry on. And from here, we'll go back to the main menu and test a secondary instance there. So again, 3, 2, 1. And this is one where it's a lot more about the fast pace. We're going to go straight into the flight mode. And this is where this tech engine demo really is useful for bench testing these SSDs as we've done previously. They really it allows a hell of a lot of scope to do this. So we can just move lovely and fast through the world. And again, as we move along through here, the game has to stay on top of all of these assets that we're trying to pull right now. So if we go nice and high up, we can see right there that things are running exactly the way we would want to see them. The height of that, and just generally the asset management and the textures look exactly how I want to see them. And overall, I'd say that's pretty successful for me. I'm not seeing any kind of hollow building or half builds there. And again, the textures are swapping out just the way you're hoping to see them in this. So for now, I think that's good. Let's make our way into our next test, which is Demon's Souls, that PS5 launch title there. Let's make our way in. And of course, in Demon's Souls, we run technically 3 tests, but it's really 2 tests here. And again, this is a game with some insane loading. So what we're going to do is load into the Nexus now. So we're just going to make our way onto the title screen. And we're going to go ahead and load in 3, 2, 1. And from here, loading into the Nexus, lovely and fast there. I believe it's less than 2 seconds, that load there, which is exactly what you want to see. And again, we've loaded in, everything's fine, the textures are good, everything's sharp, exactly what I want to see. So what we can do here is load into another area of the Nexus, namely after the Nexus Appalachia, loading in 3, 2, 1. Nice and quick. And again, this is quite a large area here. It's quite useful to kind of, for the game to have to load, keep assets kind of held back, even though they're not visibly on screen. But yep, running perfectly fine there. Double back round. But again, everything's running sharp. Everything is exactly the way I want to see it. And ultimately, this counts for me as doing what it's supposed to be doing there. So let's go ahead. I think right now that's fine. So let's double back round. Have a little look. We're seeing those textures. The fire effects are good. A lovely bit of texture swap there. Nicely done. But yep, I think that's fine for me. So I think for now what we can do is make our way back to the Nexus. And then from there, what we're going to do is back at the Nexus, load into another area of the game, a far more visual and lighting effect heavy area of the game. And that's going to be in the second Archstone. So again, let's carry on. We've seen these tests before. You know what I'm going to do, but why not? Let's load in 3, 2, 1. And again, this is quite a large, dense, light, heavy, very rich textures in this area that have to be loaded in. Lots to play with here. So again, we've got the lighting effects. We've got all of that going on there in the background. And the idea is we're just going to push into a boss area there with little regard for what's going on. All we want to know right now is that the game is keeping these assets and we're moving as fast as we can to make sure that the game doesn't kind of back-end load too much and the SSD doesn't keep up, which again, in the case of this SSD, is pretty rare that that's going to be the case. So we've got this guy here. Let him do his punch. But for now, yes, I'm saying that's running great for me. I'm liking what I'm seeing there. And for me, I'm happy with that. I think we can make our way onto our third and final game. Third and final game, of course, being Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII, and this is the remake. This is a game with a, frankly, comically fast loading time. And I'm assuming the Firecuda 530 is going to do it proud. It's a single world load test. All we're doing is going straight into the continue the game. And we're going to load in 3, 2, 1. Oh, no, we're going to have to do it from there. I apologise. 3, 2, 1. And then straight away, there we are in the world of the game. We can carry on, skip past all of that stuff there. And again, just nice, quick look at the lighting effects on it. It's still doing absolutely beautifully well. And again, it's exactly what I want to see from this. I wouldn't, no part of me would be like, oh, this game doesn't seem to be loading the way I want to see it load. Right now, the textures are good. Kind of the swap outs there are lovely and stuff. The textures, perfectly fine there. No, nothing there that leads me to deduce that this SSD is not doing the job. And that's kind of really what the best you can hope for in this kind of thing. The idea that not only does the game load in the assets as quickly as you want them, but also that the game and its pacing and the frame rate don't take any kind of hit where the game needs, or the system's overcompensating. But for now, that's running fine for me there. And I think we'll ramp things up in a moment as we get ready to move those games back. But for now, I'd say that's a success for me. And I think for now, we can exit that and go back to the main PlayStation menu. And from there, move these games back and summarize everything we've seen today. Let's move all of that bump back, because again, we want to make sure that this is able to do that the way we want it to do. But that's it. This has been both a little close look and some hardware testing in the PS5 and benchmarking of the new Seagate Firecuda Mandalorian edition. This is a great looking SSD, and although it doesn't have any real intrinsic difference to the normal Firecuda 530s, if you're into Star Wars and you're a collector, stuff like this may really speak to you. But always remember that once you install this, unless you're using like a transparent case, you're probably not going to see it again. So it's how much that means to you, that extra 20, 30 quid spend. I think if you're interested in how it looks, we've already tested the Firecuda 530 before, both doing temperature tests and the performance of the SSD, and it's still, for me, the SSD score to beat across all the SSDs right now. And all this does in the Mandalorian edition, it just makes me think it looks nice as well. And for me, If I had this in a PC setting or an open LED environment outside of the PS5, I'd probably be quite interested in that. And the PS5, there may be mixed feelings on that one. Do let me know what you think in the comments. Again, straight down there, tell me what you think. If you enjoyed this, click like, click subscribe to learn more. We will be doing some PC benchmarking on this as well. And we've got some other bits to do. With PS5 testing in a couple of months, where we're going to be looking at the D plates and some more SSDs coming soon. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you next time.